Hello, this is the first make it yourself video I've done for 10 years. I'm a bit rusty, so wish me luck and here goes. We were looking for some outdoor lights to brighten up our gazebo during the warm summer evenings, if we ever get any. We couldn't really find anything suitable, so I decided to make my own. I eventually decided to make some strip lights to fit between the horizontal battens on the screens behind the seats. So this is how we make the casings. The materials I'm using are some 6mm planed strip wood, some scrap 3mm ply, and a sheet of acrylic light diffuser. I decided I could cut the length I wanted out of a 750mm long by 500mm wide sheet. First we make the sides. Cut the strip wood to the required length. These are 750mm long. Then route a 3mm groove, setting the router blade to leave a 3mm ridge at the edge. The width of each groove needs to be the thickness of your strip light casing. In this case, 12mm. Cut the two sides from the strip wood. Cut the 3mm ply at the final width of the strip light minus about 3mm. Glue and clamp two strips together. Trim the glued strip to square up the edges and to the required width, in this case 30mm. Cut a 10mm groove in one of the faces of the trimmed strip to take the LED strip, which we're going to fit later. The piece I've made for the bottom is slightly too thick, so I have to reduce it by a couple of millimeters. Now it's time to cut the strips for the diffuser. I'm cutting these about 0.5 millimeter narrower than the bottom strip would, so that they slide easily in and out of the casing. Glue the bottom to the sides . Making sure the diffuser can slide through the groove. Basically, I've not got much more to show you, so I fast forwarded a bit. I've cut some ends from a side offcut. I've glued one into place to make a fixed end, and I've drilled a couple of pilot holes into the other removable end, ready to pin into place. I've drilled a hole in the base to take the LED strip tails, and I've sanded the case and given it a couple of coats of garden furniture paint. Here we have the LED strip cut to length and the tails soldered on. A word or two about the LED strip lights I'm using. If you've used these before, you probably, like me, have used the most common type like this. The only problem with this type is that the LEDs are quite widely spaced at about 18 millimeters, which is okay for concealed lighting, but the individual lights tend to show up quite distinctly if viewed directly, even with a diffuser. For this application, which is more on show, I wanted a continuous light. So this is another type of strip light which is sold as COB light or neon strip light, which is confusing as they are still both LED and both types have chips on board. The difference with this type is that the LED's spacing is much closer, at about 2 millimeters, which gives a more uniform light, better suited to lighting which is visible and not concealed. It's also quite a bit brighter. Both types of strip have cut points at 50 millimeters, which means you can cut them to pretty much any length you want. The only problem with the COB strip that I bought is that the solder points are set at 500 millimeters, which means that if you want to cut them between these points, you have to create new solder points on the back of the strip by scraping away the plastic coating. I'm using speaker cable which is quite unobtrusive and can be cut to whatever length you need. It also has quite good current carrying capability and has a handy white stripe so that we can maintain polarity. All that remains to be done is to stick in the LED strip. There's a strip you can remove to expose the self-adhesive back once you're sure you've got it in the right place. Slide in the diffuser. I've removed the protective film and smoothed the cut edges so it now slides quite easily. Fix and pin the removable end and this one's finished. Now I've only got a few more in various stages of completion I need to finish before I fix them all into place and connect up. I want to be able to switch the lights remotely. Also, it would be nice to have them on a timer. To do this, I'm using a Sonoff Wi-Fi switch in line with a 12-volt LED driver. The length of strip I'm using is just under 5 meters. The power consumption is 10 watts per meter, so I'm using a 50-watt driver. So here we have the 240 volts mains in, the Sonoff Wi-Fi switch, the 50-watt LED driver, and the 12-volt DC power out. All this needs to be kept dry and in range of your Wi-Fi. So I have mine in the garage next to the house with the 12-volt cable around the garden to the lights. So here we have the lights fitted and connected up. And here we are sitting in the comfort of our living room. The app we use to connect to the Wi-Fi switches is called eWeLink. As you can see on this screen, I've got a number of devices connected to Wi-Fi switches. The one we're interested in is gazebo lights. On this screen we can simply turn the lights on and off by tapping this button. Lights on, lights off, on, off. We can also set a schedule. Here I've set a schedule to turn the lights off every day at 9 o'clock at night. You can also set different times for different days to confuse burglars. We can also set scenes. Here. This is a scene I've set up to turn the lights on at sunset. However, I like the lights to come on slightly earlier than sunset here, so I've set it to turn the lights on at sunset in El Scene. For those of you like me who don't know where El Scene is, it's in Brussels, where sunset is 30 minutes before it is here. If you have Google Home or Alexa, you can also connect to these. So, all that remains for me to do is say thanks to the few of you who have stayed with me this far. It's a good night from me, and OK Google, please turn the gazebo lights off.
OK, turning the gazebo lights off.